Hi guys, and welcome to another OBSEC Battle Report. It's Mike here, I'm with Rod, and we've got something pretty special for you today. We've got a game, Sisters of Battle versus Imperial Guard with a twist. We are fortunate enough to get hold of a copy of the Battle for Prospero very early this morning, and we knocked together the 5 Custodes and the 5 Sisters of Silence real quick, and thought we'd bring you a game with them in 40k straight away. So, as you can see, we're just setting up the game now. There are 6 objectives on the table. We're playing Maelstrom, Cleanse and Control, so it's 3 cards per player. We'll quickly run through the lists, and then we'll get stuck into the game. So, Rod, why don't we start with your guard? Just take us through the list.
Oh, hey guys. Hope you're all doing well today. Okay, well, I've actually just brought my guard out for a bit of an adventure. They don't get a run out very often these days. They're not the top tier list these days, I suppose. But so we've got basically Mr. Old Man Yarrick out for a bit of a run. We've got 30 guardsmen with 3 las cannons in a big blob all together. Platoon command squad in a Tower Rocks. I do like the Tower Rocks. 2 flamers in there. I've got a veteran squad with 2 melter guns, also in a Tower Rocks. And then I've got the Vulture, which...
Yeah, this is the Forge World Vulture kit with the twin Punisher cannon, guys.
Yeah, I don't get to run it as often as I'd like to, and yeah, this is an opportunity. We're playing the Custodes and the Sisters. Forge World, Games Workshop.
Yeah, Games Workshop.
I've said that the Custodes are unbound at this stage.
Yeah, so we will point out that my army is unbound today, technically speaking.
But we're using them as elites.
Yeah, basically. So they've filled in a couple of elite slots in my Sisters of Battle army. Yeah. You can see here as Rod's deploying, there's the Blob Squad in the middle there.
Yep.
With a couple of Wyverns, and then right in the bottom corner there is the Manticore. It's also worth pointing out at this stage, we did kind of muddy the lists a little bit by deliberately adding some extra stuff to this guard army to give the Sisters and try out some of the special rules as well. So what else did you add to the guard?
Basically, I've got a big slice of cheese, and I've got the Librarius Conclave with Tigurius in there. Just three because we're only playing 1,500 points.
Yes.
But I added in another Primaris Psycho for some extra warp charges, and I'm rolling on Malefic to give me some summoning potentially, as well as I managed to roll up invisibility as well.
Yeah, well, I've got the powers. I'll put them on the screen in just a second.
But yeah, that's pretty much my list. I've also got a priest in there as well.
Yeah, so the blob it basically is the 3 librarians, Yarrick, a priest, a Primaris Psyker, and 30 guys.
And 30 guys with 3 las cannons.
And then there's a veteran squad in the Tower Rocks, the command squad in the Tower Rocks, the two Wyverns, the Manticore, and the Vulture. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you can see here, I'm now deploying.
I've already deployed at this stage.
Yeah, so the Vulture and the 2 Tower Rocks are in reserve at this stage. Rod has first turn as well, so I'm going to deploy fairly defensively, and you'll see me sort of shuffle around a little bit while I try and figure out the fire lanes. This table is a really cool looking table. We decided to play on Tyranid World just to add some colour and some variety, because neither of us have actually played on this table despite spending hours building and painting it.
That's right.
So I've got
check measuring these.
Yeah.
You're checking my range of my.
Of course I am. So those 3 little models, you can see me deploying a 3 Acolytes in Carapace armor that allowed me to bring the big Land Raider Crusader in the middle there. So it's an Auto Hereticus Inquisitor, power armor, plasma pistol, power fist because he's WYSIWYG. You can see me deploying him up the top there with the 5 Sisters of Silence and the Canoness. Now the Canoness is Cloak of Sinespria and Eviscerator, and she proves quite pivotal in this game. She's leading 2 squads of 10 Sisters of Battle, a Melter and a Flamer in each. One of them also got an Immolated Dedicated Transport. There's an Exorcist. There's a 10-man Retributor squad with 4 Heavy Bolters. Then there's the 5 Sisters of Silence, all 5 of them with Greatswords. And then the big guys, the Custodes. So there's 5 Custodes with the Legio banner, plus 3 Storm Shields, and then the 2 Guardian Spears and the 2 swords.
We should actually make a comment on that as well. They are big.
They are huge models.
To the Sisters, and compared to Guardsmen, they stand above them.
Oh, we put them beside the Sisters of Battle, who are obviously 2nd edition models and showing their ages. And the Custodes are true scale in every sense of the word. It was quite amazing to see how big they are. So you can see the table set up at the moment. The 6 objectives are fairly clear to spot as well, which is great. I'm just going to try and seize in just a moment and utterly fail, sadly. And we were talking about this post game, and
Warlord.
oh, that's Warlord. I got counterattack from memory,
Yes, counterattack.
which because I chose the Shield Captain as my Warlord, and yeah, look, we are fudging the rules because technically it's unbound, but you know it is what it is. So sadly, didn't seize. And your movement phase, I think, was that.
Yes, that's it. One librarian moving.
And that was the librarian realising that with the FAQs in play, he couldn't summon at the same time as the other librarian who could summon without leaving the unit. So at this point, we've now got a Terminator Armoured Librarian leaving the squad, which was great because it meant I've got an Immolator with Twin Link Multi-Melters with his name on it. And you'll see what happens with that later.
Yeah, a little bit of shuffling now. Just moving the Manticore out of the Exorcist. I don't think I've ever played a Sisters Army without an Exorcist.
No, you're crazy not to take them, but the kit's so terrible to build.
This is me looking for telepathy now, and
oh, this is it because you got invisibility and shrouding for that with Tigerius.
That's right.
Whereas your Malefic powers were basically the Primaris, and then everything that wasn't the summoning. Yeah, Cursed Earth and Dark Flame, is it?
Yeah, I mean, we built this as a bit of a test bed. You know, see how bad the Sisters or see how good the Sisters are. We'll see at the end of the game for that conclusion. But I built it to summon, and then didn't roll any of the decent summoners.
No,
so it was.
You got the Primaris, and that was it.
Yeah. But I wasn't very lucky with my psychic powers over the whole game. So what we're here, we're actually checking rules right now. It's gone very quiet
because
on the table.
because we've just realised the Librarius Conclave has obviously the Imperium channeling rule, and we just wanted to double check to make sure we were playing that correctly.
So that's me summoning. So they're currently invisible. I have 30 guys.
That was invisible, yeah.
And now I'm trying to check ranges for prescience.
Which we then discovered you were out of range.
Out of range, and I haven't played this guard list for a while. I know it takes some getting used to and placing of the characters. You can just throw them on the table, but it's, at times, like for things like orders, you really have to pay attention to how you do it.
Oh, for sure. This is, I believe, we're discussing the summoning side of things. That's with right. Imperium channeling.
That's right.
And I think we ended up throwing about 7 dice or 6 dice at this power.
We could probably count them. Yeah, we counted enough. And I did perils as usual.
You did perils, so you rolled a 1 for the perils result. Yeah. Did pass the leadership test though.
Did pass. But he took a wound.
Took a wound, which is great because it's a common theme though when you're running a non-demonic summoning list though. Sadly.
That's right. I did summon a unit of Pink Horrors and back to Deep Strike, and they scattered a little bit back, but
which actually comes back to bite you in the arse moments later, doesn't it?
It is horrible what happens next. It's pretty much the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah.
When you do summon units which aren't Battle Brothers.
Yes.
So, yeah, and I'm on to shooting now, I believe.
I think you had a couple of dice left to throw.
Yeah, that's right. I think I threw dice at. I
don't remember, to be perfectly honest. I don't think it was anything.
I meant my orders. That's right. And
you failed your orders.
I failed my orders, and as per usual,
that was
10, and I still failed.
Yeah, but I mean, we had a few of those moments throughout the whole game where you kind of have these really bizarre rolls. That was checking orders.
Checking orders. And yeah, so I'm aiming basically. Last cannons at the moment are aiming for the Exorcist, just in the vain hope that it actually tries to do some damage on them.
And I've got a 5 up
hits,
5 up cover,
and it does.
All it did was shake me.
It did shake you, but just quite helpful when you're rolling a Manticore nearby. And that's me aiming for the Manticore and rolled a double 6.
Yep, complete miss.
Which is important to remember when they're using the Manticore, that they never negate. It never can be fired directly.
No, and this is one of my favourite parts and my sneakiness. So in the middle there, the middle model is the Canoness. Now she's got a 3-up armour with a reroll save,
and then firing wyverns at her.
This is it's a triangle of the Sisters of Silence around, because obviously I can't start embarked on that Land Raider because it's not their dedicated transport, and then the Inquisitor at the very back. And because I gave such a very specific spacing in there, those direct hits, I'm able to allocate those hits to the Canoness first and foremost. And what you just saw there was me passing a bunch of saves.
8.
I took 2 wounds from it,
2 wounds.
But it meant that the unit got away without losing a single model, which is actually really important.
And this is me, the second wyvern, then deciding then to go and shoot the others.
Yeah, after you realise I had a 3-up rerollable armour save.
And killed 2, which was terrible. And that is pretty much my first turn.
Yeah, I did get away pretty light that first turn, so... the horrors are running there just to space themselves out a little bit, which actually turned out to be a real detriment for you because it brought you within the 1-eye open range.
Yes.
Which was intriguing come your turn too. So we get onto my turn 1. I've just drawn my cards and things. So those 3 acolytes there, they were literally the cost for me to get the Land Raider in the army to try and keep it as legal as possible. I could have just taken the Land Raider unbound, but we did try and keep the armies as legal as possible. They're going to leg it for that bottom objective because we're playing Maelstrom. It's objective 2 from memory, and obviously I needed to try and get there. And what I'm looking at doing is creating that sort of that hooking motion with the sisters to corral the bad guys. Because the Exorcist can't fire, or rather it can, but it's only snap firing, I've just moved the full 12. And then...
Sisters embarked already.
Yep, the sisters jump on and then it moves. The Immolator shuffles a little bit, realises that I can put that multi-melter, with a little move. And we're going to try and pop that Librarian who stood out there by himself. That's pretty much all the movement for me. There's obviously some running that happens now as we just kind of try and claim some objectives for some of the cards that I did have in my hand.
You didn't have Domination, did you? Or anything like
No, I actually had Ascension for turn 1.
Ah, right, okay.
Which was actually a D3 now I think of it, and I never rolled for it in the
I
post-game
think
event.
I think my first card I pulled up was Kill Your Warlord, which when he's off the table is very hard to do. And also kill us somebody in a challenge as well.
Yeah,
that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. So the Land Raider there moves flat out. I did fire the a few casual pot shots. I kill a few of the horrors with the Retributors, heavy bolters, and bolt guns.
Yeah, you're just killing guardsmen. It's nothing.
It's nothing. There's nothing particularly interesting.
Paper armor at this point.
I don't think I'm killing guardsmen at this point. I think I'm still killing horrors.
That's right.
And then the Exorcist, since it's snap firing, achieves nothing this turn. Just checking for Ascension to make sure I can still claim objectives. And that's kind of all she wrote for me for this turn. But obviously that Land Raider with the Canoness, the 5 Sisters of Silence, and the Inquisitor now looms as an immediate threat. This is you rolling for your...
Reserves at this stage, yes.
Is it reserves, or I thought...
No, it's reserves. So the Veteran Squad came on. The Platoon Command Squad didn't. And the Vultures, obviously, you come on, you'll see that in a second, because it's a Vulture. And this is me trying to get within melter range for the vets. And I can't do it. So I'm at long range melter. So I've decided to jump them out. And then we go to pretty much a very pivotal point for the game for me, where I rolled 1 for one eye open.
Twice.
Actually, it's rolled twice. So the whole blob for this turn is literally standing there, not being able to do anything.
So that blob squad did indeed roll a 1 for one eye open. The horrors passed.
The horrors passed, yes. But I didn't need them to pass.
And that solo librarian, the Terminator librarian, also failed as well. Which we couldn't find a resolution for the rules. And if you guys do know this resolution, please post it in the comments. He failed, obviously, at the start of the movement phase, which then that guard squad's then moved onto the table from reserves. It doesn't have to roll for one eye open because that's done at the start of the turn. And by the rules, the librarian has to join those guardsmen because he's ended the turn within 2 inches of them. So are they affected by one eye open, or does he then get to ignore it because he's part of the unit and the unit has passed? We couldn't find a good answer. We ended up playing it that the unit could act normally because the librarian became part of the unit for all rules purposes. Whether that's right or not, I'm not convinced either way. But that's the way we played it for the purposes of this game.
Fortunately, right now, in my mind, I'm looking down the barrel of Sisters of Silence charging me turn 2.
Turn 2.
And I've got literally nothing on the table to stop them.
So there's obviously the Vulture turning up.
He's had a plan there. He's got a plan of attack. He's going to come, basically play Mike's game at him. He's going to hook round. Yeah. But in the meantime, he's going to strafe pretty much the entire army.
Yeah, look, and I will point out we were playing Death from the Skies with this as well, so it does have the ability to do break turns, and it does have modifiers to reserve. The fact that it's on the table means I don't have to worry about the reserve mod at the moment. But it does get very bad because that's 20 Twin Link Strength 5 shots coming in at that Sisters unit. And
this is me casting. This is my psychic phase now, so I'm casting.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
At one of your units, with the only unit on the board that can actually do anything.
Yes.
At this stage.
So you dump a bunch of dice into it.
Perils, kill the guy.
Yep.
As per usual. But then I was actually did start to chip away at some of your sisters.
There goes the librarian's head exploding.
Yep.
With his second perils.
I'm trying to remember what I was trying to summon. That's right.
Yeah, it was a summoning roll because you were using the Empiric channeling and still managed to fail the summoning on 4 dice with 2+ harnessing. and
Go me.
then rolls a 2 on the perils, and his head explodes with no saves of any kind. That was a pivotal and hilarious moment.
Right.
So this is pumping all the rest of the dice into Flickering Flame now.
That's right, yeah. So I'm aiming at the top unit there.
At the Retributors.
The Retributors, yeah.
Yeah.
The heavy bolters would do it, mauling me. I had a
They-
feeling they were going to maul the rest of my army if I'd let them, so...
Well, that's it. They
Time
were
to kill 'em.
they were in range of probably half the blob squad as
I got some
well.
good hits from memory as well. I did quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, look, I lost a good half of the squad and then failed the toughness test for the Warp Flame
That's
rule
right. And
and
then
lost a
killed them
bunch more. It effectively neutered that unit really rapidly, which was a bit of a detriment to my plans.
Yeah, this is checking the rules here. Again, you can see we're professional players. We know exactly what we're doing.
The fact that two of these armies haven't been out the box
You're going to see in a minute why I bring the Vulture. And it's... I mean, it's quite polarising at times. You have a lot of players who say, oh, it's overpowered. It's typical Forge World, it's overpowered. But then I've had games where it's done nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, look, it is a good flyer, but it's a very niche flyer.
It
Because
is.
if it's not doing what it's doing in this game, if I brought more armour,
Yeah,
it would have been all but useless.
yeah.
Like at one point I was running 2 or even 3 potentially Land Raiders, and it would have flown on doing 10 parts of nothing, basically.
That's right. So, and this is me checking range for the Manticore. Manticore's got a minimum range of 24 inches, so I've decided I'm going to have a pop at the Exorcist at the top there, because the Manticore, it is a big threat. It's going to fire at me next turn, and I know it's going to kill a Manticore if I let it live. So, okay, we're aiming. I think I rolled a dozen dice. I think I rolled 3.
I know you got 3 shots because
3
you actually
shots.
managed to clip the Land Raider as well.
Yes, I got the hit, and then I scattered and flipped, and then I scattered and flipped again.
And it ended up with 2 on the Exorcist and 1 on the Land Raider. The Exorcist unfortunately fails both its Shield of Faith rolls and dies.
Yep.
And then the Land Raider also takes a hit and loses a whole point.
No, I don't think it did.
Did you? Oh no, you
No, I
might,
didn't.
You might have even failed it.
This is me spreading the Wyverns out now, and yeah, just doing what Wyverns do. Now, the new FAQ actually says that all the shots can be twin linked, and we weren't playing at that previously, but now it is. Those tanks are amazing.
Oh look, the amount of hits that I was regularly taking between 9 and 11 saving throws per squad,
Yeah,
and even with 3+ power armor, you die.
Yeah.
Here though, where the Retributors obviously only 4 models left, that's when we start having less hits come in because obviously it's just harder to get hits. But those big 10-man squads, you were just getting 2, 3, 4 hits a template.
Yeah.
Even with, like, you can see my squads aren't bunched up; they're fairly dispersed.
yeah.
And I was still taking many hits. Is this the Punishers?
This is the Punisher
Yeah.
now, opening up on the other sister squad right in front of
So
it.
strafing run base BS4 means it's hitting on 2s with a twin linked weapon, so it's 20 hits, and
Yes.
then it manages
I think it did
like
16,
13 wounds. It was
16
some
wounds.
well, you're winning me on 2s as well at this
Yeah.
point, and you watch the squad just
And then I've also got a heavy bolter on the
the
front.
heavy bolter kills 2 by
And then the
itself
bolt-
because I can't save anything.
And there you go, that's a mauling. And basically at that point he's checking for morale, and the top unit failed and they're off pretty much.
Yeah, look, They actually are on the board. They're just slightly out of camera at this point, but they do continue to fall back in my turn, and they're off the table. Not necessarily relevant at all. And look, at this point, I've lost like 20 Sisters of Battle, 25 Sisters of Battle, and it's looking particularly bleak. Now, that's the Custodes deep striking and landing bang on target.
Yeah, I'm worried at this point. I was hoping you'd mishap onto some of that impassable terrain, but things don't happen.
That was the Immolator then moving up because it's also shaken at this point, and it's picked up the remains of that squad just to try and keep them safe on that objective. And now the Sisters of Silence disembark from that Land Raider.
Oh god, they are.
And this was actually interesting because obviously it shuts down. If there were any buffs, they're obviously instantly gone as it stood because of one eye open. That I didn't have to worry about that. But it doesn't look quite as scary as it potentially could be because there's only 7 models there. Yeah, but what happens next is pretty full on because these 7 models. Now I will admit that they are supported at this point by the Land Raider Crusader and the Custodes bolter weapons. We just start looking now at ranges because obviously the Custodes deep striking, they can't charge, so we let rip with the bolt casters and the bolters in the Guardian Spears, and we kill a few guardsmen from the blob. The fact that their BS is so good means that I think I end up with about 5 or 6 wounds. Even through cover I kill 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And the Land Raider at that range is in rapid fire for both of its Hurricane bolters, the assault cannons in range, and we probably kill 10 or so guardsmen, or maybe even
12. I think it was 12 actually,
including a heavy weapon team, which was awesome.
You don't like charging into heavy weapons teams, do you?
Oh, look, it's just, I mean, I'm trying to cut down as much of the Overwatch as I can because Overwatch isn't that reliable, but when there's that many shots, particularly in rapid fire range, you can't charge 30 guardsmen when you're taking 60 plus shots because you are going to take wounds, and it's a small squad. They're 1 wound, they're toughness 3. I needed to thin the herd a little bit. So you can see now that here comes some of the Hurricane Bolt of Fire and the Assault Cannon in a second. He's getting a 6-up save from that sort of rocky outcrop that he's on. So I kill one of the heavy weapon teams, and then the other survives. And I've got it's about a 6-inch charge through terrain, and I end up rolling about a 10 in just a moment when I start charging. Although I do fire some more bolters for what it's worth. Kill a horror, maybe. Yep, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, I'm looking right now. I'm thinking, oh god, this is going to go bad. I don't have the firepower right now to put you down. The minimum range on the Manticore is 24, so I'm not going to fire that at anybody too close. The minimum range on the Wyvern is 12 inches as well. So, and
that's one of the reasons I charged and advanced so quickly and was willing to take that risk with the deep strike on the Custodes. It was about getting under that range.
So this is me counting up my my Overwatch right now.
It was 20-something shots instead of the 60 it potentially could have been.
22 las cannon shots from memory.
Las gun.
Las gun.
Las
cannon. Yes, there were a lot of las cannons. And I did a wound or 2, and then you saved them.
The Inquisitor took one because he was the closest.
Yeah.
Power armor works wonders.
There we go.
I rolled a decent charge even through the terrain.
You rolled a 10-inch charge. Yeah, 8-inch.
It was a good charge. The fact that the Sisters of Silence don't have grenades is problematic. It didn't necessarily... I mean, I think I lost 2 before I could swing, and that was mainly because Yarrick's is an unwieldy weapon, the Power Axe is an unwieldy weapon.
That's right. Plus, at this point, you've thinned out, and I've stretched out. I've got guardsmen on the right-hand side hugging the board edge, just in front of the Manticore and the Wyverns.
Yeah, they're sort of strung where that objective is. They kind of link through there. There's a couple of models missing, obviously, from the shooting phase as well.
That's right, and you're going to pull them round, but at this stage, they have no chance of fighting.
No, and
all my characters are right at the very bottom. They all start piling in, and we swing a lot at Initiative 1 at this first turn.
Yeah, well, all of my guys, I've got a Power Fist and a Eviscerator, and then the 5 Sisters, and the 5 Sisters without grenades are Initiative 1. It's at this point as well we're just checking the Sisters of Silence rules, looking at their attacks and initiative and grenades and so on, and discovering that they get rerolls to hit whenever there's a Psyker in the enemy unit. So I've gone in with 16 attacks at Weapon Skill 4, fighting against Majority Weapon Skill 3, with Strength 4, fighting against Majority Toughness 3, with AP2 weapons with rerolls.
It's not a good day to be a guardsman.
No, the guardsmen actually bring the Conclave down at this point, because while I don't kill any of the Librarians, at least not in this turn, it does make them far more susceptible to the Sisters, because the Sisters don't have to try and get through Toughness 4 and don't have to try and deal with Weapon Skill 4. They get to fight much easier foes and still inflict wounds because they're the closest models.
That's right. So here Initiative 3, here's of the guardsmen are piling in.
And this is the fun part. They start piling in towards the gold-armoured Custodes.
Yeah, they don't really have a choice, do they? I mean, they've got to go somewhere. And the Wyvern is blocking one path, so they have to go basically in front of...
Yeah, they end up...
in front of the Custodes, which, as a guardsman, probably wouldn't be your first plan of attack.
So there's all your attacks from the basic guardsmen, and there's actually quite a few. There's 20-some attacks.
But you start tanking them again.
Yeah, the Canoness does tank a ton more.
Here we go. This is Initiative 1 now. So I start removing models in a second.
Look, I do lose a couple of Sisters, 2 or 3 from memory. But what happens then is I get essentially the full 16 odd attacks back, plus the Canoness with her Eviscerator, plus the Power Fist on the... and I throw an equivalent amount of attacks back at you, but they're all at Strength 4 AP2 instead of Strength 3 AP Dash.
No, that's horrendous. It's not fun to be on the... And that's what I like about that Sisters unit. I really like the fact...
I did lose the Inquisitor here as well, though.
You did lose the Inquisitor. I think Yarrick decides to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
But I do like the Sisters. And yes, needing frag grenades, absolutely. They absolutely do need that. Look, they still have enough attacks.
I think if you've got enough of them in there, or you've got a tank character that can wear some of it, they'd be okay without the grenades. And 5 models meant that if I hadn't cut down the Overwatch, they all would have died. Yeah. At this point, I've got the Canoness on. There's the Sisters' attacks.
I do manage to tank a few from memory.
Yeah, look,
Yarrick takes about 4 or 5 inballs.
Yeah, look, we kill a couple of guardsmen because there's also a Power Fist that's strength 6 AP2 and the Eviscerator as well, which kills the heavy weapon teams, and we kill a few things, but we end up with the Canoness on 1 wound and 2 the Sister Superior and 1 Sister, and then you've still got the Librarian, Tigerius, plus the Primaris Psyker, plus Yarick.
That's right.
Which is those 4 characters you see at the bottom of the screen on the right there, and then the balance of the blob is actually over on the far right there.
Yeah.
So you can see us piling in now at the end of the combat phase, and these poor guardsmen now walking out and conga lining in front of the Custodian Guard. So that was a fairly successful assault for me. It's locked down that blob. With the Sisters of Silence there, those Librarians are doing nothing. And he's got a unit of horrors out in the open that can utilise power dice, but even the fact Tigerius and the Librarian aren't they aren't generating dice means that I've all but stopped the psychic phase.
Yeah, and that hurt my army a lot, and I thought right now it's, okay, how do I save this? I'm about to try and Scarper or try and run away, and I actually thought you'd actually bring the Custodes and start wiping out the tanks first, and leaving the Sisters to do the heavy lifting and killing the rest of the blob off.
I suppose my theory there, though, there's only 3 1 wound 3+ armor save models there, and I'm having to deal with Tigerius plus a Librarian plus a Primaris Psyker. I'm looking at that going, if I don't throw Custodes in very shortly, then they're not going to survive. And while they're tied up, it's fine, because it means that I know that for your turn, depending on how that combat goes, would then allow me to make that decision. It's also quite a distance to those tanks. If you look at the table, even with a 6-inch move, it's a long charge. And at the time,
again, they don't have assault grenades either, do they?
No, they don't. So, it's a funny one. The Custodes, though, to be fair, tank so many hits.
They do.
They just absorb firepower throughout the whole game. They take a lot of killing. So you can see the Vulture here lining up on the Custodians, the 2 Melter Guns moving in to kill the Land Raider, and the Horrors sort of regaining coherency.
If you noticed on the bottom left-hand corner, I've brought my platoon command squad on. They've come on, and they're aiming at 2 flamers at
those 3 acolytes.
The 3 acolytes, which is hilarious. As to what happens, you'll see. But it's very important just to notice. Probably what I've done there is actually shielding that Taurox, which is very weak, as a lot of people have noticed. They're quite weak, but it's shielding them from a lot of the guns which are still a threat to it. Just in the memory that future. I might need those guns.
Yeah.
I might need that transport to get an objective. And I think a lot of people that don't think about where they're putting the tanks on. When they bring a tank on, they just pop it on the board and off it goes.
Yeah.
Something to
There went flickering fire that killed a bunch of Sisters then as well.
Yeah. I rolled above average. I think I rolled 16.
Oh, it was 16 shots.
3d6.
Yeah, it was hilarious. This is the Punishers into the Custodes at the moment. So there's a good 15 odd wounds there.
I killed one and put a wound on another.
I lost one with a halberd and then Guardian Spear, and then put a wound on the sword and shield.
And the rest of my turn shooting here, from memory, was
the Land Raider dies.
The Land Raider dies, but at that point I've got nothing else to really shoot at, and it's just a Land Raider.
Well, the plan at that point was still to embark the Custodians back onto the Land Raider later in the game.
Ah, okay.
And ferry it across, and use it as an opportunity to re-engage those Custodes sort of turn 4 or turn 5. The Wyverns try their luck and do nothing from memory.
Wyverns do what Wyverns do. They just pile on wounds. The pile on hits and pile on wounds. As many wounds as they can.
What was interesting, though, is you were still getting 10 or 12 wounds, but because you're only wounding on 5s, it did reduce the damage I took, and then...
Shred helps, but still, even then, it's...
Well, you can see the amount of hits there. There were a ton of hits there. So I ended up with sort of 8 or 9 wounds there and take nothing.
Yeah.
Because 2+ armor really helps.
That's just a Manticore coming up.
This pops the Immolator, sadly, and forces those 2 Sisters out.
That's right. And that's the second shot that misses, and then the third shot hits. But that's the thing when you play with Manticores. Your D3 shots per weapon or per shot.
Yeah.
When they split, they need prescience on there.
Here's my favourite. Like I lose 2 acolytes in Carapusama to the first 2 flamers, and then that lone acolyte proceeds to just, like a boss,
want to die.
Take the lasgun fire. Oh, I'll shoot the twin linked autocannon at him.
Nope.
Still alive. And he goes on to perform sterling service in the name of the Emperor. Um, but then just checking the Fearless aura there from the Custodes banner.
That is a really good aura. I do like
The
that.
12-inch Fearless is fantastic, and the fact that the +1 attack works for any Imperial model in the unit is phenomenal. It also means those Custodes have 5 attacks each on the charge, which is just horrific.
Yeah, and I'm looking as we're doing the combat now. I think we're in the combat phase now. I think I don't get wiped out from memory.
No, you survive. I kill a few guardsmen because there were a couple left that consolidated in that were sort of strung out behind that mountain area. But
Yeah, this is me killing the guys.
because I'm at initiative 5 at this point, which is
I
great.
do kill a few sisters though from memory. I think you.
The Canoness dies this turn,
That's right.
but she brings Yarrick with her Eviscerator.
Yes, yeah. Yarrick failed 3 Invul
Yeah,
saves in a row.
3 out of 3 died.
He's an old man. He's tired.
And that's the only thing I lose because the other 2 sisters survive.
That's right. They do.
And the reason they survive is what happens in my assault phase with
This
those,
is horrendous. And
those 4 Custodes.
I've experienced with guard. I've played guard at tournaments now. I actually think about this earlier. I've been coming to events now, or coming to tournaments for 5 years, and the Custodes. I've seen guardsmen get torn to shreds by Wolf Guard, by other guard blobs, and everything else. But what the Custodes do next is horrendous.
Well, they're overkill to the point where the Sisters of Silence don't actually swing.
That's right. That's right.
Like
Guardsmen.
my Guardian spear by itself on the
You see
shield
them-
captain.
You see my guys lining up there perfectly.
Yeah.
Ready to be decapitated by pretty much
Well,
the
the-
Emperor's best friends.
He's only friend, some would say.
So I think this is the start of your turn.
Yeah,
now,
this should be
so-
me going into my turn now, and it's looking pretty grim. I've got like 4 Sisters of Battle left, 1 Acolyte, 4 Custodes,
Hey,
and
that acolyte, he's awesome.
so here come the Custodes. I'm shuffling the models around slightly to make sure that the wounded ones stay at the back to try and maximise their survivability. Unfortunately, that Vulture between a Break Turn and Vector Dancer, it's very hard to protect all of them. So I've moved the shields to the front to try and take those Melter Guns, and I'm shuffling the Sisters at the back just to put some bolters into those horrors.
That's right. So I think you actually end up wiping out the horrors here.
Yeah, I kill a couple there and then frag one with the last bolter shot from memory.
I had made a little mistake there in my previous turn. I actually ran them when I should have actually tried to charge.
Yeah, with 2 Sisters and 3 horrors, it was a fairly decent go. That Acolyte's also moved up, and at the time, I remember you saying to me, "Oh, you're going to charge my Wall of Death," and I looked at you and went, "No, I'm charging the tank. I got crack grenades."
Totally forgot.
I completely forgot that I can throw a crack grenade and then charge and use it, but so I forgot to
So I
throw
think
it.
this is Overwatch from my...
Yeah, because I declared a multi-charge with the
You
Custodes at
did,
this point.
yeah.
The primary target being the engaged unit, and then the secondary being the veteran squad with the melters, and I only rolled enough to get the primary.
That's right. Yeah, I think you rolled a 7 or an 8. And I think you like a
Yeah,
9.
it needed a vaguely decent charge, but
That's you taking some photos.
even with the movement, yeah, you can see I'm not really able to string them out particularly well. But that doesn't change the fact that the Guardian Spear-Armed Shield Captain with base 4 attacks, 1 for the banner, charging, goes in and just murders most of the squad by himself.
Yeah, I don't even know why I let you roll dice here, because, I mean, this is bad enough. I think this is the start of it now. So that's 3 dead.
That was actually the Sisters.
Oh,
that
it
was
the
I got a
sisters.
precision strike in and killed the librarian, the standard librarian,
That's right.
and then the shield captain kills
4.
a handful.
Boom, boom, boom.
Then
Right.
Tigerius swings and fails from memory.
That's right, even with his master-crafted weapon.
Does literally nothing. I save them on my 3+ armor because you're only AP4 with the staff.
That's right.
So the sword-armed custodians now look at swinging. There's the custodes.
This is bad.
3 of them, all wounded. Now,
Boom, boom, boom.
I'll also point out at this point, I'm still rolling against weapon skill 3 and toughness 3 because they were still the majority.
Yes.
So Tigerius and all these... that's right, this is the 5+ refractor field now having to take about 1 million saves. And,
Yeah, I tried. It didn't work.
yeah. And look, all I'm doing here is trying to make sure those sisters get a cover save from the custodes if they need it from those couple of melter guns. We're also closing the distance on the Wyvern, trying to make sure that we're trying to get in under that minimum range because those things are just... They pound you every turn. But as you can see, at this point, I think we're in about turn 5 here. And
No, well,
well, the custodes, maybe it's turn 4.
could be turn 4.
Well, actually, it's your turn 4 now, because
Yeah.
my Custodes landed turn 2 and they charged turn 3.
Yeah.
But as you can see, I'm down to 2 units of 2 sisters, an Acolyte who fluffed his crack grenade on the tank, and sorry about me knocking the camera there, and then just the 4 Custodes and the 2 Sisters of Silence. So while it looked quite bad when I first got the charge off, between the Punisher and the Wyverns, I lost so many models so rapidly in the early stages of the game that at this point I'm now basically clawing at it, going, okay.
Yeah, and that's what a good well, this isn't a good guard list, but this is what a guard list does. It hurts you early on to the point where it gets numerical numbers on you with dice, basically, with hits. So, and I've managed to pass a break turn here.
Yeah,
as well.
the 4+ break turn here, letting bank all the way around while staying on the table and moving far enough. So it was
with Vector Dancer as well.
Yeah. Well, the turn, move, break turn, move, Vector Dancer turn meant that you're able to bank it all the way around so that you could target the Sister of Silence or the Custodes depending on what happens.
This is me again, the bottom corner here. I'm trying to kill this Acolyte. I've got 2 Flamers and 2 las guns and a las pistol.
You also, I remember saying to you at this point though, going, oh, surely you can, I've got orders, I can shoot and then run. And
yes, because I'm trying to get to objective. I can't remember what it was. I think it was 2. But yeah, so this is my Melter guys. They're running up. They're going to try and hurt the Custodes, and they don't.
There's a little bit of a tank shuffle here as well. And a bit of a change of mind there as well, trying to put more templates onto those Custodes. I mean, the Sisters die relatively quickly. It's the Custodes. Toughness 5 combined with Eternal Warrior, combined with 2-up, 3-up, it's bricky against anything that's not a dedicated anti-tank gun that wounds them easily.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. The Vulture just throws dice at everything now, and that's what the Vulture does.
I think it gets 3 or 4 passes at them before it finally, later in the game, they take it at least 3 or 4 passes before anything.
That's right. This is also a funnier section where Mike Wyvern, the second Wyvern, decides to do something crazy.
Yeah, look, it's...
He decides he doesn't like his own guys. He decides to try and shoot the other veterans. Which it manages to do and kill about 3 or 4.
There goes both the last of the Sisters of Silence. I mean, toughness 3 against an...
See, I'm happy at this point because I've killed the Sisters of Silence. And
no, it was also fun here because you thought you'd killed the Shield Captain at this point, but because where the blasts were landing and taking them from the centre, I was actually able to allocate the one failed save the Custodes had onto another Custodian, which was great.
Here we go. 6-inch scatter, blind barrage, he couldn't see. And here we go. It's basically starts cheering up. And even with twin linking, I still managed to hit, and then you kill them. It wasn't fun. But
well, that's it. I think I killed 4 of them with your own weapon, which was fantastic.
4 more than anything else killed.
Well, that's it, because the Custodes stand there and go, yeah? Like, they took... Oh, there we go.
That's right.
So that was the wounded shield bearer from earlier in the game.
This is me fighting the veteran squad now. So
yeah, there's melter guns and las guns and that sort of stuff.
6 is to wound. I think it did do a wound on
the melter gun snuck through from memory.
Here goes the Vulture, doing what the Vulture does.
I actually end up having to look out Sir for the shield captain here. However, because they're all the same saving throw, I roll them all at once and then look out Sir, the one that was required. That was the banner dying, sadly.
Yeah, and I'm feeling quite happy right now. And there's a Manticore there. I think he scatters off completely from memory. That's right. And basically churn some earth.
Yeah.
Which is...
So at this point in time, I'm now going, okay, it's not looking great. As you can see, the Acolyte...
The problem is, what I've got here is that my Maelstrom cards, the ones I've pulled, aren't very good. So I'm having to sit there and discard
But
cards.
it was a fairly low scoring turn anyway. Now, that Acolyte, I will point out at this stage, survived the 2 Flamers and the 6 lasgun shots, or 5 lasgun shots, and the twin-linked autocannon. Oh, did he go flat out?
No, he went flat out because I needed to get onto that objective.
So he's now going to have another crack at that Tower Rocks with a thrown crack grenade, because at this point I've remembered I could have thrown it, and then charge as well. The Custodes decide to close. Rather than trying to kill the melter guns, we're going to try and kill the Wyverns, because I've got bolters that are in range of the melter guns, which are the only real threat to the Custodes there. And you can see me killing one there. I thought I got the second, but no dice.
That's right. So it was,
and the grenade hit but failed to do anything.
That's right. I think he charged in. I think he, from memory.
Well, we were talking about a multi-charge here, but it was just too far through difficult terrain. I barely made it as it was.
That's right. Yeah.
And
you still killed the.
Well, the shield captain, just walks in and goes, "Oh, you're dead."
Yeah,
and
I think
kills
the
it.
Wyvern crew ran off the back of the Wyvern at this point.
It's
not happy,
It's literally a glance and two pens. It doesn't explode.
but it's dead.
It's dead, and that's great. The at this point, the acolyte also goes in. Actually, manages immobilized with a crack grenade, which is sensational.
Yes, as me exclaim.
What the hell?
What on earth has happened? And yeah, so we're moving to turn 5 now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I basically at this point contemplate pulling the Vulture into hover just to try and get some more shots onto the Custodes, but then also think that, yeah, is there any point at this stage? I don't think there was, and you'll see me in a minute. It's what it is, overkill. I turn the Vulture, it's still flying, I just aims at two.
Yeah, the two sisters. Look, they're on an objective, and you're still drawing cards at this point, so it's important to.
Yeah, well, this is turn 5. I think the Manticore stays
Manticore's
down.
out. Well, the Manticore's out of missiles at this point, which is why it's driving away now.
Yeah.
It's still got a heavy bolter, and it can still block lines of sight and score objectives. But if it hangs around near objective 4, where those two Custodes are, it's just going to die.
That's right. So yeah, I've moved it up, moved it out of range, and yeah, the Vulture does what it does, and then just kills them. This acolyte down the bottom.
He does take a lot of hits to kill down there. Oh, this is I lose the melter gunner there as well.
And the Wyvern just pops in, and I think you actually managed to save it. That's why I rolled 2s here. Nothing but 2s. I wound you on 3s.
With rerolls.
With rerolls. And here we go.
Just clipping him there. I thought I tucked him in far enough. Sadly not. But that's okay.
But that's it. And that was pretty much the end of turn 5.
Well, going into my 5, I've got 1 sister and 2 custodians. So yeah, look, my Maelstrom cards at this point are largely irrelevant because I just don't have any models left to claim them.
I think from memory, you did actually pick up Secure Objective 3, which is why your Sister of Battle here just doesn't charge.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly right. I put a bolter shot out and killed the closest melter gunner, which was awesome. But yeah, you're right. I had Objective 3 in my hand. Otherwise, I would have thrown her in against the Guardsman and had a crack at it. The Custodes charge the Wyvern, and the Shield Captain again just destroys it by himself.
But from memory, when you blew it up, I actually managed to put a wound on you.
Yeah.
Which is always wounds come from the most obscure places, and just blowing a tank up has put a wound on him.
But at this point, I've finally cleared Objective 4. I'm not quite within 3 there, as you can see, which is a shame, because that actually gives Rod supremacy at this point, because he's got the card in his hand. I only control 1 objective, but that'll obviously be short-lived because there's 1 sister on it, and he's already controlling 2 before he does anything else. So the Vulture goes hover.
Yep, goes into hover, and because we're into turn 6, that's right.
Yeah, we rolled for this, so we're now playing turn 6.
I've got a Secure Objective 3, and I'm basically at this point just trying to get everything away from those Custodes, but also lining up that if it goes to turn 7, I'm always going to have a shot.
Yeah, to get back onto those Custodes. Yeah,
that's right. So again, orders down the bottom there. What's this? Oh, that's right. I didn't even bother rolling the dice. I think for the Vulture against your 1 sister.
Look, I grabbed a handful of dice and failed a bunch of saves with 4 or 5. So you were going to put way more wounds than that on it. Look, going in for my 6 at this point, I've got a choice of either staying on Objective 4 or taking some pot shots at the rear arm of the Manticore. Neither is a good option. The chances of me doing anything to the Manticore with 4 bolter shots are all but nothing. And the Vulture, because of its manoeuvrability, means that even if I tried to hide, it was going to bank around and still be able to get them. So I thought, you know what? Bugger it. If it goes to 7, it goes to 7. I've lost the game at this point anyway.
Now it's going on. We've rolled.
Yeah, we're into 7 now. And, the Custodes in a minute, we'll see the Vulture bank over and kill them both, sadly, to round out the game.
I was a little bit surprised they actually managed to do it. They take so much firepower.
Look, and we ended up, like, I got First Blood. Neither of us got Linebreaker. We both got Slay the Warlord. You had 6 cards, I had 5, but I do, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I forgot to roll my Ascendancy card turn 1. So at this point in time, I'm kind of going, I could have actually won it had the Custodes survived, but unlike every other turn they've taken fire, I failed like 5 2+ saves out of the 10 I took.
It wasn't good. You're going to roll it now. There you go.
And yeah, they're dead.
Bang. And that's game basically.
So yeah, that was bottom or top of 7 basically.
Top of 7. The game was a little bit more surprising than it went more. I wouldn't say to plan, but I was surprised. I think going first absolutely saved me.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, the fact that I had to spend a turn mucking about with transports and couldn't put the custodes in the transport to start the game safely was a real problem.
So, Custodes, do you like them?
Look, I think we can talk about that on the next podcast we do, because I think we'll go and record that shortly. But in a nutshell, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and check out the podcast on the website, objectivesecured.com.au. Thanks for watching.